Hello and welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News. Today, 23rd May 2026, equivalent to Islamic calendar, 6th Zulhijjah 1447 after the Hijrah of the Noble Prophet. In the headlines, federal government distributes maternal and newborn care equipment nationwide. Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria raises alarm over proposed digital switchover plan. Troops of Operation Hadenkai kill scores of terrorists after failed attack in Northeast. And on the international scene, World Health Body alerts Ebola virus risk now very high in Congo. And on sport updates, Manchester United appoints Carrick manager. Guardiola confirms City exit after season. Details of these and more will be coming to you in the news bulletin. I am Sumaya Mustafa. Stand by. The federal government has commenced the disbursement of comprehensive emergency obstetric and newborn care equipment worth $200,000 per state to about 252 health facilities across 30 states. The coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Muhammad Ali Pate, disclosed this at the launch of the medical equipment distribution organized by the federal government of Health and Social Welfare under the sector-wide approach SWAP initiative. Pate, who was represented by the Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Mui Aina, said more than 40,000 women had already benefited from life-saving interventions under the program. He added that this is an effort to reduce maternal and newborn deaths. Earlier, the national coordinator of the SWAP Coordination Office, Muntaka Umar Sadiq, said the program was designed around sustainability, country ownership, and value for money. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has declared 11 local government areas in Niger State as high flood risk zones ahead of the 2026 rainy season. NEMA Director General Zubaidu Umar announced this in Mina at a stakeholders engagement meeting on the 2026 National Preparedness and Response Campaign, NPRC, on flood disaster and related hazards. Umar, who was represented by the North Central Zone Director of NEMA, Abdulrazak Adebiye, noted that the affected local government areas are Agay, Bida, Borgu, Idati, Bako, Kacha, Lapei, Lavun, Magama, Mashegu, and Mokwa. She also explained that the prediction is based on the 2026 Seasonal Climate Prediction and Annual Flood Outlook released by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, and the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency. The Director General said 23 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, covering 132 local government areas nationwide, fall within high flood risk zones. Moving on, the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON, has written to the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, expressed worry about the proposed digital switchover, DSO, with BON arguing that it is not a genuine digital switchover at all. BON in the letter stated that after analysis, the NBC's plan, delivered via NICOMSAT, constitutes the launch of a direct-to-home DTH aggregation platform, not a digital terrestrial television DTT transition as defined under international and Nigerian law. The organization also pointed out that both the International Telecommunication Union's GEO6 agreement and Nigeria's 2012 White Paper on DSO, approved by the Federal Executive Council and gazetted, clearly defined digital migration as a transition from analog terrestrial television to digital terrestrial television. The objectives of a genuine DSO are to accommodate more channels using MPEG-4 compression and to release the 700/800 spectrum for mobile broadband use. Moving on, Governor Obasani of Kaduna State has emerged as the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC for the 2027 general elections after securing 459,393 affirmation votes at the party's primary election. Sani, who contested as the sole aspirant, received an endorsement from delegates and stakeholders across the state in what party leaders described as a strong vote of confidence in his leadership and performance. The primary election, monitored by officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), drew top APC leaders, elected officials, delegates, and supporters across the 23 local government areas of the state. Chairman of the Kaduna APC Governorship and House of Assembly Primary Election Committee, Hafiz Ibrahim Kawu, said the exercise was peaceful, transparent and reflective of the growing unity and internal cohesion within the ruling party ahead of the 2027 general elections. The African Democratic Congress ADC says the Federal High Court ruling voiding part of the Independent National Electoral Commission's INEC regulations for the 2027 elections would trigger a mass defection from the ruling All Progressives Congress APC. The ADC stated this while reacting to the court judgment on INEC's guidelines relating to the deadline for party primaries and membership registration. ADC National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi, in a statement, said the opposition party described the judgment as a vindication of its earlier objections to some provisions of the electoral body's guidelines. According to the party, it raised concerns over what it described as restrictive timelines for party primaries and membership registration when the guidelines were introduced. Still in the news, the ruling All Progressives Congress APC has rescheduled its governorship and State House of Assembly primary elections in Bauchi, Kwara, and Zamfara states. The APC National Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka, in a statement said the governorship primary elections in Bauchi and Kwara states had been rescheduled to Friday, May 22, 2026. He explained that the postponement was approved by the National Working Committee (NWC) of the APC after consultations with relevant stakeholders, in line with the party's commitment to ensuring a transparent, orderly, peaceful and credible primary election process. The African Democratic Congress ADC has accused the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission ICPC of preventing its leaders from meeting Nasser El-Rufai, who is currently being held by the commission in Abuja. ADC National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi, in a statement, said the party's delegation, led by the National Secretary Rauf Aregbesola and Policy Committee Secretary Salihu Lukman, visited the ICPC headquarters but were denied access without any reasonable explanation. The party also alleged that security around the commission became tense during the visit after no fewer than 3 truckloads of armed police officers arrived at the facility. The ADC described the deployment as entirely unnecessary and said it gave the impression that authorities feared public reaction over the detention of the former governor. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television Global News. Still to come in the news. Troops of Operation Hadenkei kill scores of terrorists after failed attack in Northeast. And on the international scene, World Health Body alerts Ebola virus risk now very high in Congo. And on sport updates, Manchester United appoints Carrick manager and Guardiola confirms City exit after season. Details of these and more will be coming to you after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back from that short break, and now the news continues. Troops of Operation Hadenkei have killed scores of ISWAP terrorists during a follow-up exploitation operation after a failed attack on a forward operating base (FOB) in Tungushe in Borno State. Security analyst and counterinsurgency expert Zagazola Makama disclosed this development in a post shared through his X handle. Security sources stated that the terrorists launched an attack on the military position in the early hours of May 22, but were repelled after a fierce exchange of gunfire. Following the attack, troops conducted clearance and exploitation operations around the area, during which many weapons and combat items abandoned by fleeing insurgents were recovered. Also, military sources estimated that about 15 terrorists were killed during the encounter, based on blood trails, intensity of the exchange of fire, and intelligence assessments from the operation area. Moving on, the Chief Executive Officer of Badegi Radio, Shuaibu Badegi, says recent armed attack on the station in Mina, Niger State, may be linked to perceptions that the station is not aligned with certain groups. He explained that the incident occurred on Saturday, May 16, 2026, within the National Television Authority (NTA) compound, where Badegi Radio operates from a rented space. Shuaibu said unidentified assailants attacked the compound at night and moved towards the station's operational area, prompting worry over a possible targeted intrusion. The Chief Executive Officer added that the reason behind the attack remains unclear, but may be connected to perceived non-affiliation or lack of support for certain groups. Trade unions across Africa have commended the ruling of the International Court of Justice, ICJ, affirming the right to strike under the International Labour Organization's Convention number 87. The African Regional Organization of the International Trade Union Confederation, ITUC Africa, in a statement in Togo, said the ruling has reinforced the legitimacy of strike action as a fundamental democratic right that cannot be denied or weakened. The statement also described the verdict as a historic victory for workers' freedom, democracy and social justice. ITUC Africa General Secretary Akator Joel Odegi, who signed the statement, said the labor movement across Africa welcomed the court's opinions because it affirmed that workers had defended for generations that the right to strike is inseparable from freedom of association and trade unionism. Moving on, as Eid al-Kabir draws nearer, Muslims across the globe are purchasing their animals to be sacrificed during Eid al-Kabir. Let's now join our media partners TRT Hausa Turkey in this special report on how rams and other animals are acquired and are prepared for Eid al-Kabir.
Barkanmu da zuwa kasuwar dabbobi ta Ali Beykoye da ke gundumar Eyüp Sultan a birnin Istanbul da ke Turkiya. Na san za ku yi mamaki da aka ce kasuwar dabbobi, za ku yi tunanin kamar a ce za a ga kasuwa irin ta mai gatari, kasuwar 'yan awaki ko kasuwar jibiya ko kuma kasuwar azare. To nafa ba haka suke ba. A nan kamar komai suna yin sa ne kamar daban da tsarinsu daban da kuma namu. A nan ana ware wajen tumaki daban, wajen kuma raguna daban. Za ka zo ne ka nuna wacce kake so. Idan ka zo ka nuna dabbar da kake so, sai a zo a janyo ta, a ɗaura ta akan sikeli, a auna nauyinta. Nauyin dabba shine nauyin kudinka na dabban nan. A nan keke da keke ake harkar, ba cuta ba cutarwa, ba ja inja, ba dogon ciniki. Idan dabba ta yi maka ka saya, in bata maka ba kuma ka tafi, ko kuma ka ci a ɗauko maka wata, ko siya ko bari. Amma dai su sun fi so ka saya. Shikenan sai a ɗauko wasu lambobi da wani abu sai a makalawa wannan dabbar lambar nan a kunne. Lambar cewa kai ne na 12 da ka siya, ko kuma kai ne na 40 da ka siya dabba a nan wajen. Sai a ja ta a sa ta a wani waje. Mana dan ba da ai ba tafiya za ka yi ta gida ba, za ka yi ta inda ake ajiye dabbobi wanda aka siya dabbobi, domin ba za ka zo ka ce ka siya dabba a nan ka tafi da ragonka ko tun ka gida ka je ka daure a garken ka ba, ko kuma ka je ka daure a turke kana jira wato sallah ta yi ka fito ka yanka a kofar gida. A nan ake yin ka komai, kai sai dai a baka nama ka tafi da shi. Daga nan za a kai ka ofis alhaji, ka zauna a kunna maka AC, a baka ruwan sanyi ko shayi, a yi lissafi, ka ɗauko kuɗi ka bayar. Idan ka bayar a rubuta maka rasiti. Shikenan sai ka tafiyar ka gida. Sai ka tafiyar ka gida ba tare da dabba ba. Su za su ci gaba da kula da dabbar ka, suna bata abinci, suna bata ruwa har sai ranar sallah. Idan ranar sallah ta yi, shi ma ba zuwa za ka ɗauka ba. Nan za ka zo akwai wajen yankan dabbobi. Wannan shine ɗakin yanka, shine ɗakin fiɗa, shine ɗakin gyaran nama. Za a baka wuka da kanka, za ka yi ka dabbaka. Nan da nan a cikin minti kaɗan za a ɗaye ta, a wanke, a yi komai, a farke kayan ciki, a cire kayan cikin, a wanke su. Daga nan sai a sako da dabbar, sai a kawo ta nan wato kan wannan wajen dan wannan dandamalin da aka yi nan musamman da wannan robar nan mai karfi da fafiyar roba. Nan a za a yanka naman, a sassara shi, a zuba maka a leda, sai tafiya. Sai kai da ka ga dama kai da shi, ko ka ci, ko kai sadaka, ko ka soya, ko ka yi farfesu, ko kai gashi. Wannan duk ya rage naka. Da fatan za a ci nama lafiya.
Moving on, the World Health Organization WHO has alerted that the risk of the Bundibugyo strain of Ebola is turning into a national outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo to very high. It added that the strain, for which there is no approved vaccine or treatment, was declared an emergency of international concern by the organization on Sunday. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus told journalists that the organization is now revising its risk assessments to very high at the regional level and low at the global level. He added that so far 82 cases have been confirmed in Congo, with 7 confirmed deaths, 177 suspected deaths and almost 750 suspected cases, noting that the situation in Uganda is stable, with 2 cases confirmed in people who traveled from Congo and one of them fatal. On his part, WHO Director of Health Emergency Alert and Response Operations, Abdulrahman Mahmoud, said the potential of this virus spreading rapidly is high, and that changed the whole dynamic. And lastly, on the sport updates, Manchester United has confirmed Michael Carrick with a permanent contract as head coach for guiding the club to a third-place finish at the Premier League. United said in a statement that Carrick will continue as team's manager, having signed a new contract. Carrick was former United player, took charge on an interim basis after Ruben Amorim was sacked in January and led United to Champions League qualification with an impressive run of form. In another development, coach Pep Guardiola has announced that he will leave Manchester City at the end of the season after a trophy-laden decade that transformed English football. Guardiola guided City to 20 trophies, including 6 Premier League titles and the club's only Champions League over the past 10 seasons. Finally on the news, here's a recap of the top stories again. Federal government distributes maternal and newborn care equipment nationwide. Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria raises alarm over proposed digital switchover plan. Troops of Operation Hadenkai kill scores of terrorists after failed attack in Northeast. And on the international scene, World Health Body alerts Ebola virus risk now very high in Congo. And on sport updates, Manchester United appoints Carrick manager. Guardiola confirms City exit after season. On behalf of the news editor, Ilya Adamu Auta, and the production crew, I am Sumaya Mustafa, thanking you and bye for now.